In news from Jamaica, it has been hailed as one of the most positive developments within the last century for the region and the world at large, the thawing of diplomatic tensions between the United States and Cuba. The process of rapprochement was initiated last year, December, after U.S. President Barack Obama announced that America would be moving to restore cordial ties with the communist nation. But almost a year later, some regional leaders are still not happy with the progress made. On October 27, the United Nations General Assembly will reiterate its call for an end to the United States' decades-long economic, commercial and financial embargo against Cuba. And its resolution Jamaican legislators are supporting. In Parliament on Tuesday, parliamentarians on both sides of the House supported a seventh consecutive resolution in favor of their closest neighbor, Spanish-speaking Cuba.
11th of this year, the U.S. government moved to extend the Trading with the Enemies Act, which is a fundamental piece of legislation which underpins the policy of blockade against Cuba. So that on the one hand, while there are these steps to normalize relations at the diplomatic level, there is tremendous still anxiety, the continued pressure on the Cuban people and government because the blockade itself has not been lifted. And we have even more reason to be concerned, Mr. Speaker, because whilst the actions that have been taken so far has been at the level of the executive branch, where the President, using his executive powers, have moved to resolve certain aspects of that very outdated and damaging policy of blockade.
Industry, Investment and Commerce Minister Anthony Hilton says the embargo has hampered Cuba's trade and investment opportunities on the global stage. Mr. Hilton says President Obama's efforts have been commendable. However, he believes there are still many roadblocks before peace is restored.
We saw significant development in the normalization of that relationship. We saw embassies in both the United States of Cuba and of the United States in Cuba opening up, representing meaningful steps in the lifting of that embargo policy. And so that normal relations, normal dialogue between member states of the United Nations can take place, and their embassies, respective embassies, to facilitate that dialogue. And we applaud the effort, Mr. Speaker.
President Obama needs the support of the Congress to lift the embargo against Cuba, but Mr. Hamilton notes that will prove very challenging.
And there, Mr. Speaker, there remains tremendous uncertainty about whether the U.S. Congress is in lockstep with the administration, the executive branch, and that we are likely to see any real movement on the blockade anytime soon.
Meanwhile, opposition spokesman on foreign affairs Ed Bartlett says the tone of the upcoming UN General Assembly will change to laud the latest development in US-Cuba relations.
I note with interest too, Mr. Speaker, that for the first time, the October 27th date of the tabling of the resolution by the UN is being anticipated like it never was before. Because there is a feeling, Mr. Speaker, that the narrative may change. That the language may be reflecting of this new feeling and this new wind that is blowing across the Caribbean and the world in terms of those two great countries. And it is important, therefore, that we watch this one carefully, because some have even gone to the extent to suggest that there may be not necessarily a positive vote, but abstention even, to further reduce the number of nays in that regard.